Welcome back to another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. My name is World Undone. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. So, we unfortunately discovered our cool, awesome best friend who we totally weren't in love with, that was totally platonic, has... Well, I was going to say passed away, but it's not quite that simple. He was quite clearly murdered, and we are the prime suspect. In fact, there's pretty much no suspects except for us, because we were the only one in the same room as him during the locker room mystery. Now, Sherlock Holmes, I do wonder if I'm going to be able to call him Sherlock Holmes. I'm pretty much positive I'm not going to be able to, but we'll see. Found our body in the closet, but he did say, yeah, the locker room mystery is easy enough to solve. So we'll see precisely how much Sherlock Holmes is able to help us out. But right now, we need to prove to Susato-san precisely that we are innocent, essentially, and we only have two pieces of evidence. So let's go back over here. We've got this. Okay, so we'll examine all of these. Proof that I'm a student at the Imperial Yayyyy University. I always wear it on my collar. No more cute little interactions with this dude. What is this? Okay. Let's examine this. The symbol of Yayyyy University. Every student wears this pin with pride. It's funny, but most emblems seem to be either round or rectangular. I like the spike design, even though it doesn't really make any sense. Although it does cause problems. Lots of students end up cutting their fingers on their badges. Ooh, I wonder if this badge is going to be used as a weapon for a third crime that I'm going to be framed with. Perhaps it was the idea of one of the founders. A sharp pin for a sharp mind, or something. So let's turn this around. We've got this and this. My personal student number is engraved on the back here. If you lose your pin, they won't accept you as a Yayyyy student at the university. You may not come in, they say. Do they? Ryunosuke? Of course you can get a new pin made if you can just tell them your number. I've actually lost mine twice already, but I still don't know my student number by heart. It doesn't look all that easy, 901. I always say to myself, I mustn't forget to write it down somewhere, but then I forget not to forget that. Oh, Ryunosuke, you fine but you simple. Okay, Kazuma would stick this over the doors of the wardrobe for me. It says keep out in Japanese, so I'm not sure the Russian crew can actually read it. Right. This is a paper seal I wrote for the wardrobe. I remember working really hard to make it. But I'll never forget how Kazuma reacted. Do you expect the Russian crew to be able to read that? He said. Still, I was sure people would get the idea, even if they couldn't read it. So we used it anyway. That doesn't seem advisable. And it worked. I don't know if the crew thought it was creepy or what, but no one opened the doors. Right, so there's that. There's glue as well. You can see the remnants of the glue we used to stick this over the wardrobe doors. Although it wasn't proper glue, of course. Really? We didn't have any of that with us. So I pulverized some rice into a paste to use instead. But to a stowaway like me, every single grain of rice represents precious rations. That's why I spread it as thinly as I possibly could. I couldn't bear to waste any. Okay. Anything else about this? Not that I can see. Alright. So, one of two options. Show her some evidence right now that proves I'm not guilty of this awful crime. Okay. We'll just present this. Ah, yes, I'm upside down. Tell me, when was I discovered When I was discovered in the wardrobe before, was this piece of paper stuck over the doors? Oh, yes, it was. I remember clearly. I thought so. Kazuma always put it in place whenever I went to sleep in there. Oh, I get it. Just in case the cabin steward or another crew member decided to look inside. So naturally, he did the same last night as well. Ah! Yes, of course. The gentleman who discovered you peeled that sign from the wardrobe doors before he opened them. But if I were truly the culprit, I couldn't have climbed back inside the wardrobe and stuck this on the outside of the doors on my own. Yes, that's quite true. In other words, it's impossible that I killed Kazuma. Well, even if you are sprawled hopelessly on the floor, I can see why Kazuma-sama thought so highly of you. Thank you, Susato-san. Now, do you think perhaps you could help me up? That was Ryunosuke, not Susato. Their voices aren't actually all that different. Well, in the light of that evidence, I don't see any reason why I should stop you from investigating in here, at least. Arigato. So, you finally believe me? I'm sorry, no. What? I'm not sure yet. I can't rule out the possibility that you use some sort of conjuring trick to put the sign back in position. What, does she think I am, a magician? For now, I suggest you investigate as thoroughly as possible in here. I'll do the same. Alright, let's get to work, Susato-san. Please don't misunderstand me. I still have my doubts. Oh. I shall be watching you to make sure you do nothing that might disturb the crime scene. I wouldn't want you using your conjuring tricks to destroy evidence, for example. Right. Well, anyway, I should make a start on investigating in here. Examine everything I can. Kazuma, I swear, I will avenge your death. Okay, so now we're in the investigation phase. So we have examine, converse, move, and present. This is classic. As far as Ace Attorney games go. I pretty much know everything about this system, even though it looks really different and honestly really cool. So we'll start with conversing. Nope, we already conversed all we could. So we'll start with examining. Oh god, the Russian sailor's still here. So do we use was? We do. So, let's see. There's B to look... B? What? B to look around... Oh, what? Okay, B and then it turns into M. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So... Okay, history, court record, options, and back. Okay, we'll start with you. These are the rules of passage for travel aboard the SS Buria. It's essentially a list of requests from the captain to all passengers on board. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. What? Why are you staring at me? Oh, sorry. I was just thinking. Are you more of a dangerous object or a pet? I can't decide. Listen, lady, slap a collar on me, okay? And, oh man, I got so randy I couldn't... couldn't think of the rest of the thing to say. Let's move on. Well, one thing's for sure. Either way, I wasn't supposed to be in here. What? Oh dear, that won't do. Oh, what's the matter, Susato-san? Whenever I'm examining things, I always find myself so focused I forget to look around properly. Yeah, that's not good. I don't suppose you're as foolish as me in that regard, are you, Naruhodo-san? Yeah, I figured this out on my own. Thank you, though. I'm sure you're careful to look all around using B and M, aren't you? I've got a BM for you, Susato. Now, let's investigate all corners of this cabin. Hi! Let's do that. I suppose my field of vision has been rather small until now. Okay, so that's fine. Oh, that's very handy. Stuff that you've examined and there's no point in examining further gets marked with a check mark when you hover over it. Awesome. Okay, cool. There. The books have fallen over on the shelf. Look, they've all toppled the same way. And what's this? A statue of some god of the sea? Although he's fallen over as well. Yes, it's almost as if the whole shelf has been ransacked, and everything mown down at once. I wonder if... perhaps it was Kazuma-sama doing his morning sword training. Do you think? It's certainly possible. I don't. Then perhaps... it was you, Naruhodo-san, in a fit of rage. I wouldn't have bothered leaving the wardrobe just to mess up a few books and a statue. Could the way these things have been thrown about have anything to do with the case? I wonder. Well, I'll just set everything straight again. I don't like to see a mess. Oh, I'm sorry, you just were telling me about how you don't want me to mess with the crime, and yet here you are. Messing with the crime. Okay, well, we can't examine it again. Did that get added to the court record? No, I guess it wasn't that important. That's a very large traveling case, isn't it? Yes, it carries a lot of memories for me. Memories? What do you mean? Well, that's actually how I stowed away on this vessel. I was brought on board inside that case. Ah, yes. I see it says "this way up" in Japanese. Which, in hindsight, I should have realized the foreign crewman wouldn't have been able to read. I was turned over and over and over, and then I was tossed on the floor in here. Oh dear. Being a stowaway isn't as romantic as it sounds. Well, it was less painful than a Susato takedown. God, she really messed you up, huh, Ryunosuke? So ever since the Susato takedown, I've been doing a bit of a Sailor Moon-inspired voice with her, so hope no one minds, but... so what does this say? Say Yayyyy, the Japanese word for justice. The brushstrokes are straight and true. Just like Kazuma. True? Yes. Straight? Yes, his calligraphy always was a reflection of his heart. Yet you... can you really look at those characters without feeling shame, knowing who drew them so thoughtfully? Of course I can! I mean, I'm innocent, so why shouldn't I be able to? Even though you stowed away on the ship? Oh, okay, now you're bringing up old stuff? I can't win. Yeah, well, Kazuma was the one who stowed me away, so... okay, that's just a painting. I could try to talk to this guy. Sure. Perhaps I should see what this Russian crewman makes of the scene of the crime. Excuse me? What? I was wondering how it's going. The investigation, I mean. Grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes, but it is not true, I see. Sorry? The criminal asking investigator for information about his crime? Very funny. Oh, it wasn't supposed to be a joke. He doesn't appear to be laughing either. He's convinced you're guilty. He might have useful information, though. I have to keep trying. So last night, Did you notice anything out of the ordinary at all? Hmm? Niet. Of course not. Now back to corner of room and make silent. I say no more to you. Did I hit a nerve? Just for a minute there, he seemed a little flustered. Uh-huh. Alright, well that's something to keep in mind. So we could examine the door. Let's examine the tablecloth. There's nothing on this table at all. The plate and cutlery are all over the floor for some reason. Signs of a struggle? It's strange. Last night when I went to sleep, I'm sure everything was still. No, wait a minute. What is it? That's funny. I can't seem to remember anything about what happened after dinner at all. Sounds like you were drugged. So then perhaps you are responsible for what happened to Kazuma-sama. No. Come on. Do we have a detective? Ooh, there's a knife and a bone? A sword? Ooh boy, okay. Let's check this out. That's my dinner from last night. A roast chicken. It was really tasty. You can remember that. Yes, it was very delicious, wasn't it? But did you eat it on the floor over here? I'm not a dog, Susato-san. I ate it at the table, of course. Which begs the question of when and how the plate ended up on the floor. But Kazuma-sama didn't like chicken at all, did he? No, that's right. So he didn't touch it. Which went all the more for me. Oh no! Does that mean poor Kazuma-sama spent his last night on this earth with an empty belly? It's just too horrible. Ugh, now I suddenly have a guilty conscience and an achy stomach. Alright, well, let's check out this. Oh, this is my cutlery, I guess, so it counts as the same thing. That's Kazuma-sama's precious sword. He never went anywhere without it. Yes, he was always saying that a Japanese man's katana is his soul. I believe he had to work very hard to convince the government to allow him to bring it on this trip. Yeah, I believe that. I suppose that shows just how important it was to him. And now he's gone. But I'm not ready to let his spirit go, just yet. Pretty rough. So there's some stuff knocked over which we can't look at. Not yet, at least. So what's this? What do you think this is? It looks like a broken piece of glassware. I don't know. Whatever the thing was, it appears to have broken clean in two. A flower pot? The glass is such a beautiful color. It looks like a cute little Natsuki fastener from a kimono outfit. I'm not sure that sounds like Kazuma. He wouldn't have secretly carried a cute little trinket like this around with him, would he? Secretly a crossdresser. And the mark beside it. What is it, I wonder? It has a sort of brick-like hue. Yes, you're right. It is a color of brick, isn't it? Even though I don't see anything of the same color anywhere else in the cabin. Okay. I've been playing Danganronpa for too long. I'm used to having like a little thing that's like, oh hey, here's all the things you can examine in this room highlighted. So let's take a look at the body outline. Did Kazuma write that before he died? It looks like it's written in ink. He must have knocked the ink pot from the desk when he collapsed on the floor. Then I suppose he wrote this message by dipping his finger in the spillage. Poor Kazuma-sama. No doubt he was in terrible pain. It's almost unbearable to imagine it. I suppose he was trying to leave some kind of a clue in his final moments, was he? In Russian? I'm sorry, partner, but I can't read your writing. Yeah, well done, Susato. I don't think that's Japanese, Naruhodo-san. Oh my god, this is the Ace Attorney? It's Russian. It's Cyrillic. Text. It pains me to admit it, but I don't know. Oh my god, we gotta deal with this? Alright. It's not a foreign script I'm familiar with. What does it mean, I wonder? Bro, you're on a Russian ship! You gotta be kidding me. Okay, so we can't examine the ink. We can examine this, though. This is where dear Kazuma-sama would have sat wherever he was writing. London Diary. Poor Kazuma. He didn't even make it to his destination. It looks as though the last entry is incomplete. Which means... what? He was in the middle of writing it when the incident happened? That's interesting. Pardon me. Let's see what it says. It could be a valuable clue. Yayyyy! That's out of the question. Well, Kazuma-sama may have departed this world, but you must not read his private thoughts. It's a clue. But what if it's something important, something relevant to the case? Could you think before judo slamming me into the floor? I guess we're just not going to read his diary. Poor Kazuma-sama. I don't like prying into people's personal matters either, but in this case, isn't the need for clues more important? Alright, I guess we don't have the option to convince her. Okay, so we've got the bed where me and Kazuma spent many nights together. This is... yes, it's a bell cord contraption, I think. What do you mean, contraption? I read about it in a book I was studying that talked about life in Great Britain. Large households often have bell cords like this, which you can pull to ring a bell to summon servants. Really? That sounds almost magical. She's got a faraway look in her eyes. Shall we give it a little try? Hi! In the interests of cultural research, obviously. Hmm? I suppose nobody comes for lowly Japanese people. No, I'm sure that everyone is busy, that's all. Oh god. More racism in the game. Ooh. Okay. The locked room mystery might be solved once we examine that. Easy enough. So, okay. It's some 2 weeks since we sailed from Japan. Have you really been living in that wardrobe the entire time, Naruhodo-san? I think living isn't quite the right description. Oh, no, I suppose not. Although it must have been rather exciting making this voyage in your own secret hideout. The trouble was, I never knew when a member of the crew might come in. So, yes, I did basically have to live in the wardrobe. And last night was no exception. But because of that, you had no idea what was happening out here in the cabin. No, sadly not. Okay, so someone drugged the chicken. Okay, so here's my theory, right? Someone drugged the chicken that Kazuma brought to his room, not knowing that A, he had a stowaway in the room, and B, that he wasn't going to eat the chicken. So then the person comes in, there was a scuffle, they kill Kazuma, somehow without leaving a trace of a stab wound or anything like that. Maybe they strangled him? I don't know. So, anyway, point is that they left, but before leaving they wrote out something in Cyrillic on the floor, so it was a Russian attacker. That's my theory. Okay, so let's check out the solution to the locker room mystery here. I think that's some kind of opening for a ventilator. A hole through which fresh air can circulate into the cabin. Isn't that a little odd? What do you mean? Well, this ventilator, if that's what it is, looks like it must connect to the next door cabin. Yes, it would appear to. You're right. But if its purpose is to allow fresh air into the room, surely it should be connected to the outside. That's true. Perhaps it's so that rain and spray don't find their way in when seas are rough, or something like that? I suppose. Maybe that's it. Oh, yeah, no, sure, we just didn't notice. Who's that? He wasn't there a minute ago. As far as I can tell, it looks like he might be European. Oh, how did he... You've noticed the man too, have you? It's a little hard not to. I have no idea who he is or how he got in here, but he looks suspicious. And tall. Suspiciously tall. Naruhodo-san, don't tell me. Do you really not know who that is? Well, no. I don't have any foreign friends or acquaintances at all. He doesn't look like a member of the crew. There's something very unusual about him. And is he investigating Kazuma's desk, or is he just playing on it? I can't tell. Well, in that case, we simply must talk with him. Am I just imagining it, or does Susato-san look almost uncontrollably excited? She's a fangirl, I see. By the way, I expect that you've noticed already, but just in case, if you press space on people when they're in the crosshairs, you can converse with them. Alright then, I'll get that suspiciously tall gentleman in my sights and see what he has to say for himself. Oh, please do. Okay, so examine. Excuse me. Excuse me, do you have a moment? Shh! This is a critical point in my investigation. Maybe I should leave him alone. He seems a little unfriendly. Yes, perhaps that would be for the best. Oh my god. Greetings! I hope I haven't kept you long. What exactly were you doing on Kazuma's desk just now? Hello. Ah, I see. Fascinating. Sorry? What do you see? Feels like he's looking right through me. Oh yes, everything is clear now. The train of reasoning has run its course. My deductions have crystallized. You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive. Just recently returned, if I'm not mistaken. You are. Sorry? What? And now, while venturing toward foreign climes, you find yourself in a most troubling predicament. Oh, well, that's true at least. But how? How the deuce did I know that, perhaps? It was really a most elementary deduction, hardly worth explaining. Have you perhaps managed to deduce anything else? But of course, a great many things. There is no mystery, my dear madam. For example, you have fled your native land of Russia, being, as you are, a merciless revolutionary. I don't think this guy is quite as good as the Sherlock Holmes of legend. You leave your 16 victims of assassination in your wake, and now travel to England to blow up the Crystal Tower. And when the beribboned occupant of this very cabin discovered your identity, you ended his life too. Yes, I believe that summarizes the facts beautifully. No need to hide the truth now. Nothing deceives these eyes. Yeah, that was all wrong. Just to be clear, you are talking about me, are you? Certainly I am. Do you see another in this cabin who fits the bill? A Russian assassin with 16 victims to his name? I don't even see one person who fits the bill. Maybe the Russian in the corner. So it's true. It was you who did this, Hukazuma-sama. What? And you're plotting a revolution, too. It's shameful behavior, Naruhodo-san. Absolutely wicked. No. Listen, there's no way... Oh, God. Susato attack. What is that? Susato strike? Now explain yourself. Tell me everything. This is ridiculous. Couldn't say it better myself, Ryunosuke. How could you do it? For pity's sake, open your eyes. I'm not a Russian revolutionary. Obviously. Oh, forgive me. And as for you, what kind of a deduction was that? You were just saying the first thing that came into your head. Ah, but was I not right? Whilst venturing towards foreign climes, you do find yourself in a most troubling predicament, do you not? Yeah, that was the only correct thing you said. Well, yes, maybe. Ha! There you have it, you see? What do you make of that, Well, to be honest, not much. This ship is en route to England, and I'm in handcuffs at the scene of a murder. It's pretty freaking obvious. You don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure it out. So I'm not really sure you could call it deduction. It's more plain observation. Indeed, an observation, my dear boy, is the basis of all deduction. My method is founded upon the observation of trifles, you see. I announce my findings with a brassy certitude. And more often than not, I'm right. Huh. I don't think you introduced yourself. Ah, my apologies. How remiss of me. I am none other than the greatest detective of the century, known to men and women the world over. The inimitable? Inimitable? Am I really gonna call him Sherlock Holmes? On one hand, it's just so dumb. On the other hand, he's not nearly smart enough to be the actual Sherlock Holmes. Oh my god, this is really a predicament. God, it's so incredibly stupid. Whatever. So, it's really you? The actual Sherlock Holmes? I'm gonna say Sherlock Holmes. I can't do it. I can't do it. The very same. The Okay, I gotta figure this out if he's gonna keep saying it. The inimitable. Inimitable. The inimitable actual Sherlock Holmes. Do you know this man, Susato-san? The most famous detective in the world? Naruhodo-san, of course I do. There's nobody who hasn't heard of him. What planet have I been living on, then? We must ask him what he's deduced. He will have worked out the entire case already, I'm sure. Really? Why do I feel uneasy about this? Alright, let's converse then. So, you're a great detective, are you? Sorry, what was your name again? Indeed, I am none other than the one and only Sherlock Holmes. Oh, I see. You're German? Herlock, was it? No, I have no hair. I mean, I have hair. Please, call me Holmes. You could read all about my exploits in this exciting London publication. Oh yes, Ranced magazine, full of wonderful short stories and interest articles from Great Britain. I never miss an issue. I have it sent from England especially. Oh, yes, here it is. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So, you're the protagonist in a series of short stories, then? Indeed, I am. And you've read so many of your own stories, you started to think you really are a detective? Wait, what? Make no mistake, I am not the poor, deluded fellow you take me for. Your inference is backward. Backward? My trusty biographer records my greatest detecting achievements and chronicles them in the magazine. You have a biographer, do you? Doesn't everyone? Mine goes by the name of Dr. Wilson, presently keeping shop in London. So is that the Wilson who was killed? Dr. Wilson? I must say, thanks to that publication, I've been fantastically busy of late. Why, this very moment I am returning from Asia, having solved the mystery of a cursed royal crown. Really? I can't work out whether I should take this man seriously or not. Deduction, you see, is to me a science. Logical reasoning in its purest form. Science? Really? The astute observer notices even the most subtle of reactions in his subject. A furtive glance, a twitch of a muscle, a slight inclination of the posture. Fingernails, arm sleeves, furrows in the skin, all these things are data. Right. And the trained logician makes deductions from this data in the blink of an eye. The ultimate conclusion is, without fail, the truth. As I demonstrated only a few short moments ago. How can he look me in the eye and claim that? And so you see, I have a turn both for observation and for deduction, and fame. That is what makes me the one and only Sherlock Holmes. Cool. Have you managed to deduce anything about this particular case yet? Have I managed to deduce anything? My dear fellow. Who do you suppose discovered the culprit in his most cunning hiding place? That's right. It was none other than the great detective before you now, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Ah, I see. In other words, I'm in these now because of him. When I became anxious about Kazuma-sama this morning, I summoned all of the crew members to force the cabin door open. And I concealed myself among their number, gaining entry to the scene of the crime. Yes! Luckily for everyone, the great detective Sherlock Holmes was on board. And the handcuffs seem to be an excellent fit, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay. The very moment I laid eyes on the scene, two facts were immediately apparent to me. Oh, really? Two facts, you say? Okay. Mr. Holmes, tell us, please, what two facts were apparent to you when you came into this cabin this morning? Yes. But first, let us be precise. The two facts in question were immediately apparent to me. Okay, got it. You're very smart, but what were they? Allow me to elucidate. The two facts that I deduced from a mere momentary glance at the scene of the crime were as follows. Number one, the cabin was locked from within, rendering escape of the culprit out of the question. Number two, the victim was Russian and killed following a dispute with an acquaintance. Hold on, Mr. Holmes. What made you think the victim was Russian? Observe the dying message left by the victim on the floor. That is the Russian word for wardrobe. Oh, interesting. Do you really think Kazuma-sama could have left a dying message in Russian? In their final moments, many find their native tongue filling their head. For this young man, Russian. He wasn't Russian. Kazuma was Russian, was he? Initially, I considered Garderobe maybe the name of the killer, a certain Robert Gard, perhaps. But in the interest of thoroughness, I decided it would be wrong not to look inside the wardrobe there at least. Where you found Mr. Naruhodo sleeping soundly. Quite so! I found you, the renowned Russian revolutionary killer. Why is it that I'm Russian too? I observed that you were wearing the same attire as the victim. In other words, you were acquainted. And if my memory serves, that outfit is the traditional dress of the Russian people. Your memory does not serve. Our school uniforms are the traditional dress of the Russian people? I had no idea. And I had no idea a detective could get something so wrong. I took a photograph of the victim and the message, that I might analyze it for possible hidden details. Oh, Kazuma. This was taken immediately after the young man was discovered, before the body was removed. Yes, Kazuma had already been taken away when I woke up. This is the first time I've actually seen him like this. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, thank you. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. Can I ask you for something, Mr. Holmes? What, pray? You mentioned Russia before as well, didn't you? You know, when you said I was a fearsome revolutionary fleeing from Russia, and all that. Ah, yes, the train of reasoning that led me to the truth. Would you mind explaining that train of reasoning to me, do you think? I can't read Cyrillic script, sorry everyone. Certainly, if it interests you. How many times... I'm not Russian, and I don't speak Russian. Okay, can we talk about your deduction before, the things you concluded about me, I mean? Ah, the now famously accurate, troubling predicament you find yourself in. Actually, it was the other details that I was more hoping to discuss. You know, the merciless Russian revolutionary and the assassin of 16 part? Ah yes, the more sordid details. It was a fairly commonplace deduction. Here we have this morning's paper. The main headline reads, Revolutionary Violin Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. This vessel made a port call at Shanghai yesterday, and last night the young Russian was murdered. Since when was Kazuma a Russian? It sounds like Mr. Holmes has concluded he was Russian because of what Kazuma-sama wrote on the floor. It was a simple act of reasoning to realize that the culprit of this crime was the same merciless revolutionary. One who was killed, the very man who helped him to escape after his true identity was discovered. Yes, you. Violin Bolshevik? Okay. No, how could it be me? I don't look anything like this man, just look at his face. Well, you are a fearsome revolutionary after all. Therefore, you have no doubt learned to revolutionize your appearance as well. God, this man is so dumb. Please. And I might add, your name does not appear on the ship's passenger list. Need I say more? Well, that's because I'm a stowaway. What about the other details? The 16 victims of assassination and blowing up the Crystal Tower. Ah, yes. The journalist clearly interviewed the man and printed all those particulars in the article. The deeds the man has perpetrated thus far, and those he is plotting. Yes, everything about this revolutionary Bolshevik was included. There can be no mistake. Do revolutionaries usually agree to interviews with newspaper reporters, I wonder? And what about the part where he said I was just returning from Afghanistan? Also quite clearly stated here in the article. Bolshevik has recently returned after a period of subversive activities in a war-torn region of Afghanistan. Ah, the great game. Where even is it? Oh boy, you're gonna learn, Ryunosuke. This Afghanistan place. Here, take the paper for yourself, as a little memento of this great deduction. Oh, thank you. I've absorbed all that is of interest to me within its pages, but I see no rubbish bin nearby. Thanks for the trash. God, I already kinda hate this guy. And you may find the article on the back page of... Oh, the article on the back page of interest as well. On the back. Cast your eye over it sometime if the interest takes you, though you may need someone to interpret. It's all written in Russian. I couldn't hope to read it. But I suppose it wouldn't hurt just to glance at the article. Maybe there might be a picture or two. Before we start talking, you were examining Kazuma's desk, weren't you? Kazuma? Ah, yes, the victim. Did you notice anything useful? Anything at all? Observe for a moment the desktop of the victim. I've got a desktop, but I'm warning you, it's a computer tower. We see that the victim was engaged in penning some text. London diary. Kazuma was keeping notes of the trip. Ah, but I don't think you should read his private writings. It could upset people. Tragic. And something you ought to perhaps elucidate before the act of reading. You mean you've read it already? It is my business to know what other people do not. Yes, believe it or not, I know a smattering of Japanese. Alright, cool. Oh, I see. Well, hold on. No, she's not going to do this auto takedown to Sherlock Holmes. I mean, I assume we've been talking to him in Japanese this whole time. Am I crazy? Well, whatever. Oh, I see. Well, you're about to know what a Susato takedown is. No, he's not. Susato-san? Aren't you going to throw the detective with one of your trademark takedowns? I'm sorry, Naruhodo-san. What on earth do you mean? Life is so unfair. Anyway, to return to the matter at hand. Namely, this diary belonging to the victim. It would appear the final sentence is incomplete, as if the author were cut short. Tell me, what is the nature of the writing? Pray, be precise as the details. Oh, but I thought you knew Japanese. A smattering, dear boy, a smattering. Sayonara, bonsai, mikado. Nado nado. I trust you're suitably impressed. So are we speaking in English? But this diary is littered with complicated-looking characters, of which I can read precisely none. Ha 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 ha! Alright, laugh it up, Chuckles. So what was all that showing off about before then? If you would be so kind as to show me, I would be happy to read it to you, Mr. Holmes. I'm much obliged, my dear madam. The final entry here in Kazuma-sama's diary consists of just 2 short sentences. The first reads, 1:23 a.m. I can hear a faint whistling sound. A whistling sound? These are very deep waters. Pray, go on. The second sentence reads, 1:35 a.m. What looks like some sort of speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Aha! A snake, perhaps? A speckled band? What on earth does that mean? I have no idea. I've never heard that expression before. The ventilator grill, you say? The man was presumably referring to the lattice there on the wall, which connects to the adjoining cabin. Yes, the adjoining cabin. Kazuma's diary has been entered into the court record. Nice. So, I believe I've given you enough to consider for the time being, at least. Do you have somewhere to go? As it happens, the victim's writings in his diary have piqued my interest. The matter warrants further investigation, I believe, and if I am still too long, the seasickness takes hold. Oh, I suppose you're thinking of investigating the cabin next door, which the ventilator connects to? Great detectives are a curious breed. Our minds rebel at stagnation. We crave mental exaltation. So yes, I intend to investigate. Hence, the truth will become clear soon enough. Do you think perhaps that we could go with you? No, that would be somewhat complicated. What? But why? A simple glance at your wrist should reveal the answer. Oh. These. After all, you're the prime suspect in this matter. No? There's no point trying to turn it into a question. You're the one who decided I was the culprit in the first place. Whatever do you mean? I have no recollection of naming you as a culprit at any point. What? You must be joking. You just said it, only a moment ago. Dear me, you are clearly misguided. I would have no cause to say such a thing. Well, actually, Mr. Holmes, I did hear you say that as well. You're quite sure? Well, that's very strange. I wouldn't have said you had the face of a criminal, you know. Not really. So, what, were you looking at my knees before? Some great detective you are. Well, anyway, that was then and this is now. What do you mean? What I mean, sir, is this. If you are the culprit, then you must play the part more convincingly. Roll over and accept your fate. Ha 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 ha! And now he's just being plain rude. And off he goes, having just laughed in my face. His sense of humor is as twisted as his name. Naruhodo-san, what are you just standing there for? Huh? We must go and investigate the cabin next door as well. Aren't you forgetting something? What about these? There's no way I can... Yayyyy! After Kazuma-sama spent his dying moments struggling to leave us a clue, you're willing to give up? You're just going to roll over and accept your fate? As if you gave me any choice in the rolling over part. I think we still have some investigation to finish off in here first, don't we? Let's carry on examining what we can in this cabin while we wait for a chance to slip next door. Good idea. The situation doesn't look good for me, but there are still things I can do to help myself. And I owe it to Kazuma to do everything I can to find a way out of this, and bring the real culprit to justice. Alright, so we are going to... Let's check out the court record. Okay, we have a few things to examine here. Oh, okay, we can only examine the photo. Right. So in the first Ace Attorney game, there was an incident where someone wrote in blood at the scene of the crime using the victim's own finger. And I assume that's what happened here, considering the text is in Russian. Okay, so we can examine this. So this looks nothing like me. I'm afraid I can't read a word of Russian. No, me neither. I have no idea what any of this says. Excuse me? Hi, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. The pair of you floundering is a sorry sight. Allow me to offer some assistance. The article on the front page of this newspaper is concerned with a fearsome Russian revolutionary. It reads, Revolutionary Villain Bolshevik flees Russia via Shanghai. Yes, you told us that before. It reveals also that those who see the man's beard with their own eyes never live to tell the tale. Oh my goodness, he is fearsome. Well, presumably the newspaper photographer was alright, wasn't he? The solution is obvious, of course. If he despises his beard to that degree, he need only to shave it off. I don't think you understand. I'm not quite sure that's the problem, Mr. Holmes. Okay, so there's that. Huh. I wonder how much of this is real text. But, ooh. A ballerina? Perhaps. Quite the pretty lady there, I must say. This is interesting. Have you found something relevant, Naruhodo-san? Well, no, I mean, it looks like it might be interesting. I can't read a single word, I'm afraid. No, nor can I, but look at this picture. Perhaps it's about a beautiful young Russian princess, do you think? She is very pretty, isn't she? I suppose you enjoy articles like this, do you? I don't know. I can't make any sense of it. Ah, I'm glad you've noticed this article. Allow me to give you a short summary of its contents. Oh, thank you. He pops up everywhere, this Mr. Holmes. It's about the disappearance of a young lady last night. Renowned prima ballerina of the Novovik Ballet disappears from Shanghai. During a performance in Shanghai, the famous dancer was reported missing. She is, of course, the talented young Nikolina Pavlova. Why are Russian names so hard to remember? Really? You're gonna say that? Ryunosuke Naruhodo-san? It would appear the woman was in costume when she was found to be missing from her dressing room, wearing the diamond tiara you see pictured, which is worth some 20,000 rubles. Oh. How much is 20,000 rubles? I have no idea, but I'm quite sure it must be an unbelievable sum of money. Susato-san's eyes are shining like diamonds themselves. The tiara is a property of the Novovik Ballet. It would seem the director is beside herself with worry. Yes, I'm not surprised. The company is most anxious to recover both Miss Pavlova and the valuable tiara. They've requested international assistance at all ports with sailings to Great Britain. Could this be another case of Russian fleeing his or her country? It does seem to be the Russian thing to do. I'm not going to even dignify that with a response, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh god, was that a truly horrible pun? I don't know if I like that. Okay. Article on the revolutionary and article about ballerina is a new piece of evidence. Cool. We'll examine the diary. Faint whistling sound and speckled band is dangling from the ventilator grill. Okay, we've got an autosave going on here. So what can we examine now? Probably talk to the Russian guy again. Well, I'm just about to end this episode, but might as well take a final look around here, making sure what I actually have to do before ending the episode. Okay, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Okay, yeah, it is the Russian. Excuse me. What? I was wondering if I could ask you a favor. Would you mind if I investigated a little outside? grandmother told me Japanese people do not make jokes, but it is not true, I see. Alright, I've read this before. The criminal asking prison guard to help him escape? Very funny. We're in the middle of the sea. There is no chance of me escaping. Yet. You stay in this cabin until next port. Then it is up to Hong Kong police to decide what they do with you. We've been traveling for 2 weeks, and we've only made it to Hong Kong from Japan. I find that a little hard to believe. You stay. Alright. There's no point trying to appeal to this man's better nature, that's for sure. Alright, well, with that little conversation, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up. So, oh god, I was hoping I would enjoy Sherlock Holmes a little more than I do, but god, he's just a complete and utter idiot. Well, I guess that's why he's Sherlock Holmes instead. But whatever, at least he has good vocabulary. Either way, it's just about time for me to wrap up this episode. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm a little depressed at how poorly this is going so far. But I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of this case, as we have done in the past, and will continue to do in the future. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm World Undone. Take care until next time.